Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage SUSE President of Strategy, Alliances, and Marketing, Michael Miller.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to SUSECON 17. You know, it's great to be here in beautiful, historic Prague for this year's SUSECON, and I have to say, I love kicking off this opening session every year. I get to see all of you here ready for another great conference. I get to talk about all the great stuff that SUSE has been doing over the last year, and I get to help get you excited about what you'll be doing over the next 3.5 days. Now, before we get into it, I want to check, who's new to SUSECON this year? If this is your first SUSECON, raise your hand. Wow, look around. That is a lot of hands. That's great. So welcome to our SUSECON community. I'm really glad that you're here because SUSECON is our opportunity as a community to come together once a year in person, on premise, so to speak, and share information. You know, we interact in a digital fashion all throughout the year. We do email, we do social media, we do listservs, we do even good old IRC. But, you know, how often do we actually get to meet each other face to face and have some fun together? That's what SUSECON is all about. And we bring together all the different facets of our SUSECON community in this one place. You know, whether you're an IT professional, whether you're a business decision maker, maybe a hands-on user of SUSE technology, maybe part of our partner ecosystem, or maybe a contributor upstream in OpenSUSE or one of the many other communities that we engage in. No matter what your role is, I'm really glad you're here. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Now, in these keynotes every morning, we're going to catch you up on all the things that we've been doing at SUSE over the last year, the progress that we've made. But for those of you that aren't as familiar with SUSE, we're also going to talk a little bit about who we are and how we've evolved over our 25-year history. And as you saw just a minute ago in that 25-year video, we're also celebrating our 25th year anniversary of SUSE right here with you at SUSECON, and we're going to kick that off tonight at our 25th anniversary party. So in a few minutes, I'm going to welcome Nils Brauckmann, our CEO, out to the stage. Every year at SUSECON, Nils and I sit down. We have a great conversation about what's been happening at SUSE over the last year, the progress we've made, latest developments in our strategy, and where we're going in the future. And on that note, when I think a little bit about where we are now compared to where we were a year ago, there's been some really incredible big developments that have happened just in this past year. And I want to share just a couple of those highlights with you this morning. For example, we recently closed our acquisition of OpenStack Infrastructure as a Service and Cloud Foundry Platform as a Service technology from HPE. That was right back in March. That was a really big development for us. Nils and I are going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how acquisitions like that are helping us accelerate our roadmaps and expand our portfolio. And as an example of that, just in this past year, there are two entirely new areas of product development that we've entered into: Container as a Service and Platform as a Service. And I want to touch on those just very briefly. Container as a Service, I think, is a whole new area of innovation, and we entered into this because we heard directly from all of you that containerization and orchestration was important to your strategy. We also know, because we heard from many of you, that Platform as a Service is important technology for you, and that was also a very natural evolution and expansion of our portfolio. You're going to hear a whole bunch about both of those technologies and many more over the next few days. And both of those are great illustrations of a deeply rooted philosophy that we have at SUSE, which is, at SUSE, we invest in innovation that matters most to all of you. All right, now, in addition to products and solutions, we also know that you're interested in a whole range of new emerging technologies and trends that are very critical to your strategy to embrace digital transformation and move your companies forward. These are things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, high-performance computing, and much more. And we know that these technologies, when combined with open source software-defined infrastructure, can help you create solutions for your business that can do things that maybe a few years ago might have sounded like some kind of science fiction scenario, but with these technologies are really becoming possibilities. And you'll be able to do this on-premise, off-premise, in the cloud, or both. In fact, if you're successful with your digital transformation strategy, you're not even going to be thinking in those terms anymore because you're going to have a flexible, dynamic, hybrid computing environment that you have to work in. And the great news is that any enterprise can do it. Any of your enterprises can do this. And we're here to help you. And so are a whole lot of software technology companies, services companies, many of whom are actually right here with us this week at SUSECON as our sponsors. And they're all here, and they're all part of an ecosystem of vendors that are ready to help make your digital transformation successful. So I want to take just a moment to thank all those sponsors now, not only for making SUSECON possible, but for helping all of us with our transformations. So let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you, sponsors. We've got a great array of sponsors this year, and I want to call out in particular, a special call out to our cornerstone sponsors, Fujitsu, HPE, Microsoft, and SAP. Let's give them a special round of applause. They're great SUSE partners. I'm thrilled to have them here with us today. They're going to be appearing on stage with us tomorrow and Thursday, and they're going to share their ideas on digital transformation with all of us. So, all of that is a backdrop for what's going to be an action-packed 3.5 days that's going to get you fired up to go back to work and help your companies transform. Now, to do this, like we do every year, we have brought literally dozens of our SUSE experts and technology gurus here to Prague with us for the conference. They're all here. They're excited to meet and talk with all of you. We've also arranged 165 unique sessions over the next 3.5 days. It's a lot of material. And almost half of those sessions are either hands-on labs, where you get to put your fingers on the keyboard and use the technology, or deep dive technical tutorials. So all of that great, high-quality technical content that you're used to at SUSECON is here, and there's even more of it. And my favorite point here is that a third of those 165 sessions are actually delivered by you, our customers and partners, about how you're using SUSE technologies out there in your real-world environments. And on top of that, there's literally thousands of opportunities for all of you to interact with each other, to network and mingle, and share your information with others in the OpenSUSE and SUSE communities. Now, this year, in addition to all that great stuff, we have something completely new to show you. It's called our Developer Lounge, and this is going to be really cool. We have SAP and ARM in there, along with our OpenSUSE community, and you're not going to want to miss the Lego challenge that's happening in the Developer Lounge. In fact, I know that sounds cool, right? It's even better than it sounds. We're talking about, this is so cool. We're talking about robotic Lego excavators powered by Raspberry Pis running SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. And, I know, and it gets even better. And you can control them from your phone. I mean, I'm going to be in there. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I think that's maybe even right up there with 3D printers, maybe even better. And when I heard that from the crew, that that's what they were going to do in the lounge, I have to admit, the first thing that popped in my head, and I didn't share this with them at the time, first thing I thought of is, well, could we get those robotic excavators like battling each other? And the first one to destroy the other one is like the winner? Could you see yourself doing that? I could. So, you know, the Developer Lounge crew, I'm not sure they're really down for that, but the idea's out there now, and I think we're just going to have to see what happens. So I hope I see you in there. All right, now to kick off each of our next 2 mornings, we'll have hour-long keynote sessions. Those will feature speakers from our cornerstone sponsors, and we're also going to bring in SUSE leaders, additional SUSE leaders that are shaping and creating our products and solutions. For example, tomorrow we'll hear from our CTO, Thomas DiGiacomo, who many of us call Dr. T. You can feel free to call him Dr. T as well. And then Thursday we'll feature our President of Engineering, Ralph Floxa. Now, if you ask Ralph really nicely, he might show you this really special photo he has of himself at one of the very, very first Linux engineering get-togethers. I mean, this is the birth of Linux type of situation. And I thought, well, just in case he doesn't want to show you that photo, maybe I'll just go ahead and show it to you right now. Yep, there he is. That's Ralph Floxa. He was there decades ago. He's still young at heart. He was there in that snazzy 80s style shirt. All right. All right, now, tonight, as I mentioned, 25-year anniversary party in the Technology Showcase right here in the hotel. This is an on-premise party. This is not a cloud party. We'll get to that next. Wednesday night, we have our off-site party. See the hybrid thing? Our off-site party, and it's in a really cool location. It is at the castle where Dvorak did his very first concert ever back in 1878. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't be there for that one, but the good news is that our very own legendary SUSE band is going to be doing their very first European SUSECON concert at exactly the same castle. I know, it's quite a coincidence. And yeah, and it's a very similar historic event, you know. And the good news is that we can all be there for this one, even though we missed the last one. Now, Thursday afternoon, also, our official and famous Demopalooza, featuring some of our biggest and best brains at SUSE, showing you a whole range of technology, as well as some stuff that we're still working on that isn't even in market yet. This is going to be SUSE technology in action. It's going to be fantastic. And immediately after that, we're going to go straight into a reception where you can hang out with the demo crew and talk about all that technology. I like to refer to that as, let's have a beer with the brains. That'll be a lot of fun. And those guys are great. And then more sessions and certifications will be available on Friday morning before things wrap up. So that's the outlook for the next couple of days. And before I bring Nils out, I just want to touch on one more thing. I want to talk a little bit about our theme this year, which is Open Redefined. At SUSE, we're the open source company. And for us, open is about more than just making our source code available under an open source license. In fact, really, that's for us just the starting point of openness. For us, it's also a matter of being flexible and providing choice throughout all levels of our architecture. And it's also about how we engage and do business with all of you, our customers and partners. And that's really encoded right into our DNA. SUSE was founded on those principles of openness. So it's not just about technology for us. It's about how we do business, and it's also about how we've been doing business for the last 25 years. Now, 3.5 days. You know, when I think about that, it sounds like, wow, 3.5 days, that's a lot of time. We can cover a lot of ground, but you know, I don't think that's anywhere near enough time to really cover all the amazing stuff that's happening at SUSE and all those great technologies that we're all interested in. So I think we better jump in there, get this thing going. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage our SUSE CEO, Nils Brauckmann. All right, good to see you, Nils. Let's have a conversation.
Sit over there. Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone. Welcome to SUSECON. All right. That was some pretty grim pictures of us that you were putting up there.
We looked kind of tough, didn't we?
Did you guys think that as well? I thought like, damn, I'm not that bad.
You know, my kids saw that and they said, "Is that your boss?"
Yeah, they will start.
He looks tough.
They feel sorry for you. and they will start to cry when they see you on those pictures as well.
I didn't let them see those. No.
I'm not sure. New style. We are still the same old friendly guys, by the way. So don't worry about it.
All right, so here we are again for the 6th SUSECON, and I always love this part of SUSECON. This morning when you and I get to sit down, we get to hear directly from you about our growth and momentum and results, where we're investing, how our unique approach to business that I touched on earlier, how that's making difference for our customers and partners. Mm-hmm. So let's jump right in there. And a moment ago, I touched on the theme and I touched on this idea of SUSE as the open source company. And I thought it would be great if you could share with the audience a little bit about how you think about that concept.
And I know that we sometimes have to explain that, right? So if we at SUSE talk about open source or being an open source company, it's really about that we want to give our enterprise customers choices, right?
Right.
We want them to have choices that they can do what is best for business, for their business.
Yeah.
And not just today, but actually also in the future.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now what people have to understand is there's a staggered approach that we take, right? So first, we invest a lot of time understanding and respecting the IT realities that enterprise customers are facing these days, because you have to remember the agility and the adaptability of the infrastructure and the application layer needs to increase. Why? Because there's so much rapid change that the business side has to entertain and support, to change the business models, the service models, to react to digital transformation. Yep. And all of those enterprises, actually, when we talk to them, they have their valuable legacy investments that they need to keep up and running. And in parallel, they want to embrace this new innovation. And they do that while they have budget constraints. So the reality of those enterprise IT customers sometimes can be pretty challenging. Right. Now, as we see and understand the details, the underlying details of that challenge, we then engage in open source collaboration and collaboration with our partners, with our technology partners, with the goal to do open source and partnerships that go beyond improving, reducing the time and cost to market. So it's not just open source for the purpose of reducing time and cost to market. We want to build best-of-breed solution stacks, and those solution stacks shall be optimized and open for mixed IT, for heterogeneous environments. Yeah,
because that's the reality out there for our customers. It really is.
It is the reality, and we need to make sure that while we do that, we embrace both proprietary as well as competitive products, even in some cases. We are as open, right? We have no challenge to deal with that and include that in a combined stack as well. And since we do that because we understand the realities of our enterprise customers and we react to that, it is, I would call it, is true customer-centered innovation.
Yeah, and I think that's real value for our customers.
True.
Now, Nils, over the last years, we've seen the scope and influence of open source technology just really take off exponentially. You know, open source software-defined infrastructure and technology is really powering this whole digital transformation trend. So let's talk a little bit about how open source is becoming so fundamental to all of that, and then how that ties into our ideas about openness.
Obviously, the importance of open source is increasing, right? And then if you see with all of those software-defined infrastructure technologies or software-defined technologies that open source powers, you can see that actually IT starts to feel not just like a layered stack any longer, but more like an interconnected matrix, right? Because you have all of those components, infrastructure as a service, network function virtualization, you name it, container as a service, platform as a service, orchestration of the containers, so there's lots going on. And that really means there is this matrix happening and not just a layered stack. And now, with each of those connections in the matrix that we add, for customers, IT can start to feel more complex, or maybe sometimes even complicated, to be honest.
Right.
And I see that some people are tempted to say, well, to face those complexities and deal with that, why would I just lean towards one vendor and ask that vendor to do everything for us, just out of one hand, right?
Right. Yeah, and so in the face of all that intertwined, that matrix of technologies and complexity, I can see how that might seem attractive at first, you know, especially if you're finding that overwhelming, all these fast-moving, interconnected technologies. But, you know, when I think about it, it seems like that would be like recreating the old days of locked-in stacks.
Yes. There is certainly the risk of locking now. And we believe at SUSE that actually the value of openness and choice is even greater if you think about this matrix that continues to evolve and innovate so rapidly. Now, if you do the lock-in because you want to feel safe, I can certainly understand that, because the feeling of safety is something that we can all relate to. So it's not that we completely disregard that, but at SUSE we really want to broaden the conversation. We want to go over and beyond. We want, in addition to creating a safe IT environment, we want to have an environment that unlocks the value of current innovation, but also is prepared to take advantage of all the future innovation that will happen in the future. And we are doing that by offering choice, options, flexibility that allows you to actually capitalize on those future trends as well. So it's always about now thinking about what you can do in the future to create an environment that is best suited for your own individual needs or the needs of our customers.
And you know, in this fast-moving environment, and it seems like it's getting faster all the time, the bar is constantly moving. It's constantly moving up. The evolution of technology, the rate of evolution of new and emerging, particularly open source technologies, is just increasing all the time.
And that's why it's so important. We want to do something that allows people to take advantage of current innovation, but also take advantage and be ready for what's new next in the future. That's really what it is. Now, if you think about lock-in, maybe it gives you the safety, but it limits your options and your choice. And for that reason, quite possibly excludes you from future innovations. Because if the innovation is happening elsewhere, outside your locked-in stack, then you might have difficulties to capitalize on that.
You're locked out.
You are locked out because you're locked in. Kind of. So, and that's really what you can prevent with open source. So that's what we want to do there.
Okay, so let's test this theory a little bit. So you're saying containers and orchestration, everything that's super the buzz now, that's not going to be the last innovation we ever see?
No, that's it. Actually, IT industry will stop right there. Containers, orchestration. 2 more years, then we will go home. No, well, and you know that what the answer is. The answer is no, it isn't, right? So it's just the current, let's say, hottest part of innovation, but there will be so much more innovation in the future. And again, we can't say it often enough. For that reason, we need open source infrastructure that allows you to be ready for that next wave. It's always the same theme. You want to be open and flexible, and that allows you to be agile and adaptable, and that's important in the modern world facing the digital economy. And that is where open source is so brilliant, because it allows you to do all of that, bring your cost under control, and then at the same time you do not have to compromise on security, scalability, performance, serviceability, because open source technologies and the concept has advanced to a level where all of that is guaranteed as well, all of those features and requirements that enterprises have, right?
And I think that's why it's been so successful. You get, in what's kind of the magic or the spirit of open source is that you get multiple vendors contributing and working together upstream, even competitors, working upstream together on projects that matter to customers, and that accelerates innovation incredibly. And what I think is kind of ironic is that why wouldn't you then apply that same concept when you're consuming the technology and be open to consuming the technology from multiple vendors and working together?
That's where the contradiction is at the end of the day, because you see all those vendors collaborating together in the open. They create together technology using the open source model, but then they all take the technology, take it back home, and create something with it which is a locked stack or more locked-in stack, and then excludes them for doing that repeatedly for the benefit of the customers in the future. And that is a contradiction that we obviously want to prevent happening. So.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears here quickly and talk a little bit about the business results that we had last year. We've got some great information to share. It's been yet another amazing year. I think this is the 6th time we've sat out here with our SUSECON audience, talked about business results. Yet another great year. So let's dive into that.
So absolutely. So you can say that our cycle of success continues to be spinning. And we had yet another successful year. You and I both want this to be the perpetual cycle of success. We do. So it means it never ends, So, and we are thriving at that. So, but we certainly had a very good year of growth and momentum in the business.
So I like that. I like this concept of momentum and spinning and cycle, because it incorporates both the growth momentum and it also incorporates how we reinvest the benefits of that growth back into our business. And that's the only way you can continue that momentum.
Correct.
So let's talk about how critical that is and the whole concept of this cycle a little bit more.
And let's start with the growth a little bit, to give some growth numbers that people understand what we're talking about. So like I said, we had a really excellent year last year, and we saw our overall revenue growing at a rate of plus 21%, which is actually a pretty steep growth rate. And if you don't just want to look at revenue, but also at the billings or bookings, if you look at the volume of annual billings that we generated, that grew year over year at a rate of plus 16%. So quite healthy growth in the business. Yeah,
it was an incredible year. And if we drill into that growth and we look at it from a couple different perspectives and angles, where do you see all that coming from?
Yeah, so if you want to divide and conquer, so let's look first at the geographies. And it was good to notice that also in the last fiscal year, all the major geographies, whether it's North America, EMEA, APJ, or Latin America, contributed to the growth with 2-digit growth numbers. So from that angle, it was healthy. Also, we saw that from different industry segments, we tracked that, we saw those contributing to the growth as well. Now, if you maybe want to look more at it from the perspective of routes to market, because we utilize different routes to market, then all of those routes to market also grew significantly, whether it's direct sales, whether it's OEM, whether it's traditional channel or public cloud, all of those routes to market grew significantly. And that growth also creates momentum with our customer base.
Right. So that was growth across geographies, across routes.
Correct.
All different angles of the perspective. So another example or another perspective is we also saw increasing number of large transactions last year.
True.
Even
So
over the year before.
and the year before and the year before. Like actually in past years, we see that more and more customers really engage in those large contracts and commit to SUSE like that. In fact, we had more deals or transactions larger than $1 million last year than we ever had before.
Right.
And they also make up an increasing share of our overall business.
Right.
And that's about the numbers and the dollars, but there's also a good and reinforcing message behind that for us, because it also really means that those large customers continue to trust and rely on SUSE as their reliable enterprise-grade open source vendor to really power their most mission-critical, their most demanding, most important infrastructure projects. So there's lots of good news because that's why they sign those large contracts with us.
And that element of it is even more important, I would say, than
absolutely,
the numbers, ultimately. Yes. Okay, so we talked about growth and momentum. So now let's talk about that other part, about how we take that growth and momentum and success and we reinvest that back into the business to keep the cycle going.
Yes, and that is so critical, this investment into the ongoing and sustainable success. So we increased our operating budget last year significantly in support of the business, and obviously we invest in all the various aspects of the business. But increased staffing is obviously the most important or the most significant one. Yep. So we have chosen to talk about a metric there. So just last year we added 300 people, or the last 12 months, 300 people into the business across the various geos, across the critical business functions. Obviously sales and marketing, but also a lot of engineering. Actually, much more than half goes into engineering, into service and support, because we want to make sure that around the globe we are there to also service and support our customers with our open source solutions. So a very healthy inflow of additional resources.
And you think about that, that not only creates more capacity to do all the exciting things that we need to do for our customers, but also creates an incredible energy, I have to say, inside the company to have this kind of growth and have more and more new people, fresh ideas and skills coming into the business has been really exciting and fantastic energy. And that brings us
actually, my standard joke is about the 300 people. I hope people can laugh about it. So Nuremberg is just one of many offices that we have. It's not even the largest. I'm based there. So we have so many people new. So I go into the kitchen, and there's new guys, and I look at them and say, damn it, I've never seen them, you know. And while I look at their face, I see they look at me and they say, damn it, I've never seen this guy before. You know? And they go like, wow.
And they're like, hey, get out of my way. I'm trying to get some coffee.
Exactly. I say, that's open source, you know. Whoever's first, So it's tremendous, you know. We see all of those changes as well.
Now, another really exciting topic. Last year, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, we announced our very first acquisition, technology acquisition in the history of SUSE, which was OpenATtic, which has become a really strategic element of our software-defined storage management capabilities, and it brought with it also a very talented team of engineers, several of which are here with us this week. And then, since then, we completed that second acquisition that we announced in March, which has brought even more engineering talent into the organization.
Yes, correct. And you mentioned it already, right? So that's actually the cycle of success at work. And by the way, we not just announced, we completed the acquisition of the OpenStack and Cloud Foundry asset and talent in March. And it is all possible because we see this combination of growth, and it's profitable growth, so which allows us to invest back into the business organically or even through forms of acquiring assets that complement and strengthen our portfolio, allow us to change in the right direction where we want to go. So as a result, actually, as a net result, we were able to expand and develop the business much more rapidly. And we are now able to accelerate our roadmaps. We're able to engage in new projects and even enter completely new market segments, like you said earlier on, while we show a cloud application platform here, which is actually a direct result of those moves.
Exactly. And speaking of accelerating our roadmaps, we're going to make some great announcements here today, tomorrow, throughout the week about platform as a service and containers as a service. Thomas is going to talk about that a lot in the keynote tomorrow morning, so nobody's going to want to miss that. And now I feel like we've covered the results and the reinvestment back in to the portfolio. Now let's maybe share a little bit of your thoughts in the context of all that about looking forward into the future.
Yes, and I will offer a rather pragmatic view to you, because I can sometimes be brutally pragmatic, as you know, right?
I know.
And we talk about the technology direction and future more in the sessions of Thomas and Ralph, as you heard. But actually, I see our future actually in a very similar way that I see our present, and for the sake of our history, even in a very similar way to what I see in the past happening.
Okay.
So, because we will continue to listen to our customers, which is meaning understanding requirements in the market, customer-centered innovation. So that will continue to apply. And then we will invest into our community and technology partnerships, because even in our strategy statement, we have that spelled down, right? We want to innovate with the communities and with our technology partners, because we believe in this collaborative effort that at the end of the day also creates openness and choice, right? And then we will continue to invest into ourselves, which basically is the business, because we need to scale up. You know, we need to support it with the right bandwidth and expertise. And then by committing to openness and choice, actually, we will make sure that everyone that works with us is actually ready for the future and what's next. So, and that's actually repeating a baseline of what we definitely will also apply in the future, over and beyond where the technology goes. So, so we might sum it up. So what we have done in the past and what we are doing today, we actually will also do in the future, because we know that this approach creates the type of innovation that will make our customers successful.
Yeah. I think that, and that's a whole nother cycle of momentum and success in and of itself. Okay, well, I think this is also a perfect point to talk about how we've evolved our portfolio based on what we know our customers' needs, because that's essentially what you just described. And earlier we talked about the evolution of open source innovation. We talked about our growth and that cycle of success. And that's really been the key that we've built on historically as a provider of Linux for 25 years. Now, as we've been able to use that cycle of success to expand our portfolio, we've evolved into something different. We've evolved into, how would you describe that?
Yeah, so it's good that you bring that up, because there was really a time when we almost entirely focused on creating the best enterprise Linux platform, and that obviously is changing, right? So now we are doing this since 25 years as a true open source pioneer and leader. And by the way, talking about our 25-year anniversary, we are actually the longest lasting open source vendor in the world, right? So they're from basically day one and still out there and thriving and growing. And by the way, when I saw the video, which we showed the video at our party tonight, right? So again, so the 25 years. You guys should bring your lighters and do like this, you know, because it felt like that. We did it.
We were doing that backstage.
Yeah, and then there was a guy with a water bucket coming. It was getting risky. So it was actually a cool video. I like that. So tonight is the party. I look forward to meet all of you there. But going back to our history there, so while we were operating in the open source world for all of those years, we obviously generated a lot of expertise and made many experiences. And we always very successfully applied that experience. And so today we do pretty much the same experience. We leverage that, but we are now delivering a whole set of software-defined solutions, software-defined infrastructure solutions, and application delivery solutions or platforms that actually leverage our Linux expertise, our open source expertise, but also leverage the Linux operating system, the technology, because that's usually the underlying platform for all of those innovations. So that's really what's happening right now.
Yeah, so there's a real logic in evolution to that. Let's drill into that a little bit more. Let's talk about that more.
Yeah, so for us, and I think also for our partners and customers, it feels like a very logical evolution, I would say, a very natural evolution, because the role of the operating system has been changing. And that's because dramatically really changing. Because obviously open source is now powering a new wave of software-defined technologies, okay? And that changes the requirements for the operating system.
So, you know, if you think back, I don't know, 5 years ago, or maybe even less, you know, we used to think about the operating system really as that layer, that quiet layer that sat between the hardware and the application, and there was that OS in the middle. But it's changed so much now.
Now it's about context, much more about context. So in which context do you want to use that operating system? And the size, the shape, and the behavior of the operating system is really changing. It needs to change depending on what you want to do with that. You know, is it in a container setup? Is it for microservices? Is it with embedded systems, which requires yet another specification? Is it with data centers? So more traditionally, is it in the public cloud? You know, there's so many different use cases. And that really means that the form factor of the operating system needs to be changeable, needs to be adaptable to support the infrastructure and the requirements of the environment really well. So for us as an open source, as an enterprise-grade open source vendor, it felt like a logical evolution and very natural, not just to provide the operating system in its various form factors, but also those closely adjacent and aligned software-defined infrastructure solutions
that are consuming that.
That are consuming that. And all of that, together with our capabilities to scale, secure, and manage it for customers in a real-world scenario. So that's what is required. Because if you think about it, the infrastructure is important, but the value for our customers is not just to consume the infrastructure, the technology. The value comes also from the management, the security, the scalability, the service, and support. And that's exactly where I would say our 25 years of experience and expertise come into play, because we have done that for 25 years. And what we have done with high quality and reliability for the last 25 years for open source technology, we will do that for open source technology now adjacent to what we did in the past as well. So it's a very logical move, and it seems to work out really nicely.
For at least the next 35 years, I think, if I remember the video correctly.
35 years.
35 more years.
Sorry.
You never know. You never know. Longevity,
I know exactly how old I am. I know when I celebrate my own birthday, you know. So that will be tough, you know. All right. Not everybody should laugh in the audience. Some are allowed to laugh, others aren't. Be honest to you.
You know, we could come. We could be on our scooters. We could. We'll be there. We'll be there.
The chameleon is pushing us in because chameleons never age, right?
No, they never age.
They always look the same.
They're magical creatures.
This goes, magical creatures.
Now, you mentioned earlier this idea of all of these emerging technologies really creating this matrix or this mesh. And so as computing evolves into this interconnected matrix format and takes on new forms, we're also going to need to really think about technologies that manage the orchestration and the security and the management across all those different form factors. Nobody wants to have completely separate tooling and ways of doing all that stuff, right?
All right. So let's maybe summarize once more on how we should maybe think about it. So to begin with, the role and the nature of the operating system is changing because digital transformation just has different requirements and it requires more than traditional computing. So that's the first thing, right? And then today's software-defined infrastructure, which actually powers the digital transformation, requires the OS to fit whatever you are doing and also wherever you are doing it, right? So whether it's on bare metal, whether it's in virtual machines, whether it's with containers, whether it's on-premise in a hosted environment or in the public cloud, you know, you need to adapt
a lot of variables.
And actually, we do have a good example for that, which we show, container as a service, which requires a lean container optimized operating system, so a new form factor. Yet it needs to be enterprise grade. Okay, so and that's what we show here as well.
So when I think about this, you know, I think about it from a SUSE point of view, and as we've evolved our portfolio, it's not just about creating more products and bringing more products to market. It's really kind of the other way around. It's listening to the market, listening to our customers, and seeing what they're doing and how their environments are changing, and then building new things that solve those needs on top of our roots as an operating system vendor.
That's exactly right. So we focus on all of you, our customers, and we focus on what you need to master the challenges of digital transformation.
So this occurred to me. It's kind of like we could sum it up in a really simple way with just 4 words, which could be our tagline, right? We adapt, you succeed. That's actually, there's a whole lot behind those 4 simple words.
And it continues to be applicable to our business also in the future. So it is always comes back to the same core concept that we actually already created a while ago, right? So we want to innovate in areas where it matters to our customers and partners.
Right.
So it is about innovation, yes, but in areas where it matters to our customers and partners. So we don't just do it because it's a trend or a fashion, right? So it needs to matter to our enterprise customers in a real life scenario and setup.
Yeah.
You know, and then we adapt, and you succeed with that.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So let's drill it. Let's talk a little bit more about that expanded portfolio and some of the things that are in there. We've got some great announcements coming out this week and some great things there. I think we get a little more specific about some of those things.
Yes. So I think you're looking at some of those software-defined solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So just actually at SUSECON 2015, so 2 years ago,
2 years ago,
we announced our new software-defined storage solution, SUSE Enterprise Storage. And actually here at the show, we are announcing the release of SUSE Enterprise Storage version 5.
Right.
And you will hear much more about the additional capabilities and the value add. But what struck me really when I saw it and heard it is that the new version really doubles the performance for certain use cases.
Yeah.
So which is an incredible increase in performance and shows to the maturing of the solution.
Yeah.
The manageability starts to enhance because there is yet another new open attic management console which takes the management to a complete new level, and that is highly appreciated by enterprise customers and even our technology partners. And then again, we also invested into increasing the interoperability so that the solution is more flexible and can be used in different setup and scenarios. So and gives more choice. So very exciting from that angle. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's a fantastic release, and you're going to see. You'll have sessions on Storage 5. You'll see Storage 5 all over at SUSECON. Dive into that. You'll love it. Also, let's talk a little bit about another new product that we're announcing this week, which is Containers as a Service 2.
Correct. Initial release announced in June.
Yeah, I think it was June. Yeah.
And we show more of that here, and the next release is due in Q4. I don't even know exactly which
later
month.
This year, yeah.
But that is yet another great example for customer-driven innovation because it brings together the power of Kubernetes, which everybody knows, very powerful open source technology, together with our mission-critical operating system in a form factor optimized for microservices and containerized applications.
Yeah. There's going to be some great content here this week about Container as a Service in a variety of sessions. And then what's going to be really fun is to see that in action on Thursday in the Demopalooza. So it's going to be front and center in that Thursday afternoon Demopalooza. You're not going to want to miss that.
Nope.
And then really building on top of that container technology strategy that we have, and also driven by customer needs, we've entered, as we mentioned earlier, into the platform as a service market. And Thomas is going to talk a lot more about that tomorrow in the opening keynote.
Yes. And all of what we just described, they are all of those exciting innovations that really expand our product portfolio and our solution portfolio. So now they really form a comprehensive, open yet integrated software-defined infrastructure and application delivery framework, right? And capabilities. And that's exactly the foundation that, based on open source and open standards, that our enterprise customers and partners are looking for. You know, it's this more agile, software-defined infrastructure and the new way, a more agile way to deliver the applications in different ways, which they need to master the challenge of digital transformation. It always comes back to what the business at the end of the day needs from IT to make it happen.
Yeah, and that's as the way it should be.
Yes, as the way it should be.
And SUSECON is exactly the right place to learn more about that, about SUSE technologies, all of our partner technologies from our sponsors that are here, all of which create a platform for you to pursue digital transformation. And we're just getting started. This is just day one morning.
Yes.
There's much to come.
Just the kickoff.
Thank you, Nils, for another great conversation.
Yes.
Before I let you go, though, I want to ask you one more question. Could you give us an idea, maybe just a couple things you'd like our SUSECON audience to take away from our conversation this morning?
Quick summary.
Yeah.
And I know you're in marketing. You always want me to choose 4 points.
I like 3 or 5, but you know.
Oh, it's 3 or 5.
Yeah, 3 or 5.
Changed. Okay, so I have 5. So
okay, great.
I'm compliant. Good. So first of all, obviously, we hope we made that clear. SUSE is well established, is successful, and is growing profitably. So that's the baseline. Yep. We continue to invest into our business to expand the business and our capabilities. SUSE's future is and will be guided by the requirements of enterprise customers. We believe in open source solutions, so that go beyond optimizing the development, because we want to provide choice and flexibility that locks people into future innovations, right? So that they have the possibility, yes. So if you summarize it all up, SUSE provides and supports enterprise-grade open source solutions, software-defined infrastructure, application delivery based on container and microservice technology, and we pair that with the knowledge of 25 years how to do service, add value, and be flexible. So I hope that's what people got away from it.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Nils.
Thanks.
And everybody, Nils is going to be here, obviously, throughout SUSECON. I would suggest you track him down. You might find him getting coffee somewhere in the hallway. Track him down, start up a conversation.
I even drink beer, so maybe you find me close to the beer.
You might find him close to a beer.
At the bar.
And I think if you try to start a conversation with him, I think he'll be open to that.
Yes, my pleasure. Always open. See you in the hallway, all right? Thanks.
All right, Nils Brauckmann, everybody.
Cheers, thank you. Cheers.
Thanks, Nils. Okay, now, before we wrap up our day one morning session, want to have a little fun, want to make sure you're all in the right mindset to have fun throughout the week. And we're about to do a little something that I like to call I'm Open to Learning More About SUSE. All right, so this is our classic game show format, and I'm going to ask a few questions, a few multiple choice questions. I also have a little true or false set of questions for you. And as I go through them, listen carefully to the answers. These are very tricky questions. And then at the end, I'll prompt you to shout out what you think the right answer is. And we'll see how we all do together in this format. Now, question one. SUSE, as you just heard, has been described as the open source company. This means, A, our offices never close. B, there are no doors in our offices. Who wrote this stuff? C, our windows do not close. Someone's obsessed with this close thing. Or D, our customers are not locked in to using only SUSE products and services. All right, what do you think the answer to that one is? All of them. That is a very good guess. However, the accurate answer is D. Our customers are not locked into only using our products and services. All right, question number 2. The first version of SUSE Linux, released in 1996, was version 4.2. You guys know that? That's interesting. SUSE started with that version because, A, starting with 1 is way too predictable. Everybody does that. B, starting with version 2 allowed us to say something kind of cool. It allowed us to say it's a huge improvement over version 4.1, which is very true, 100% improvement. All right, or C, 4.2 was a reference to the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. The number 42, of course, coming from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Okay, what do you think the answer is, guys? C. That is correct. The answer is C. It was a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide. All right. All right. Slightly different type of question here. Question 3. OpenSUSE, which is a fantastic upstream project and community, was founded in 2004, and today it has how many members? A, 6. 6 very passionate folks. Or 6 million. Or C, over 600,000. Or D, 662. All right, what do you all think the answer is to that one? That would be a very large number. The correct answer is C, over 600,000 members in the OpenSUSE community. And if you haven't engaged with OpenSUSE, and I know many of you already have, I encourage you to do that. It's a fantastic community. Oh, is that the move it along bell? Okay. Question 4. This is our 6th SUSECON. Our first SUSECON was held in 2012, and the location was A, Nils' garage. It was a very large garage. We had to move the cars out. B, on one of Saturn's moons. I am now really wondering who wrote this stuff. C, actually, it's been here in Prague all 6 years, you just didn't know it. Or D, it started in Orlando, Florida in the US, where so many conferences are born. All right, what's the correct answer, everyone? D, that's right, Orlando, Florida. Okay, question 5. I've been waiting for that. You saw me, right? Okay, question 5. OpenSUSE created Tumbleweed, which is a really cool rolling distro, in 2010. The word tumbleweed signifies a weed that tumbles. Duh. A tumbling weed. Or C, an always updating rolling Linux distribution. Or D, you're going to like this, all of the above. What are you guys going to go with? I'm going to say the correct answer is D, all of the above. All right. Question 6. One of the 20 largest supercomputers in the world, how many run SUSE or OpenSUSE technology? A, zip. B, uno. C, half of them. Or D, there's no such thing as a supercomputer. The correct answer is C, half of the world's top 20 largest supercomputers running SUSE or OpenSUSE technology. All right, now, we're about halfway through here. We've got the true or false lightning round before we wrap this up. So I'm going to say a statement, and you're going to decide whether it's true or false. True or false, 1/2 of the world's largest banks use SUSE. False, 4 out of 5 of the largest banks in the world are SUSE customers. I like that one too. Okay. True or false? Over 40 of the Fortune Global 50 companies in the world are active SUSE customers. True or false? True, that's correct. That's over 80% of the top Fortune 50 are SUSE customers. Okay. True or false? Nearly 30% of the largest retailers in North America are active SUSE customers. False. I knew that one wouldn't fool you. I knew better. That's right. It's false. 70% of them are customers. All right. Very funny. True or false? 9 out of 10 of the largest aerospace companies in the world rely on SUSE. True. I think we all knew that one. True or false? Big Pharma is also big for SUSE. Half of the largest big pharma companies use SUSE Linux. What do you think? True or false? I know this is a tricky one. The answer is false. SUSE is even bigger with big pharma. 7 out of 10 use SUSE Linux. All right. True or false? Can you hear us now? 10 of the largest telecommunication carriers rely on Linux. Now, this is the last one, so think carefully. 10 of the largest telecommunication carriers use SUSE technology. True or false? It's true. All right. Well, I thought we'd have a little fun there with that. I appreciate your engagement. And now that we've enjoyed that, there won't be any more breaking glass, I can assure you of that. And now, before we wrap up and we send you off to dive into the day one sessions, I want to just help you get started thinking about all the great technology that's available for you over the next 3.5 days. And I want to invite our SUSE technologist and evangelist, Aaron Quill, to come out here and share a little overview of what's in store for you. So welcome, Aaron Quill.
Hey, Michael.
Thanks, Aaron. I'll be back in a few minutes when you're done.
So last night, literally about 10 o'clock, they asked me, they came in and they talked to me because we have the same issue every year, right? SUSE lets me give the closing keynote. And every year I show all this cool technology, and people come up to me afterwards and they go, if we only knew about all that cool stuff you were going to show, we would have gone and seen some cool sessions. So what we decided to do this year is they asked me to sit down last night and look over and pick my favorite sessions, right? So I sat down with the guys who work on the keynote with me. We picked our absolute favorite sessions, and the list was 35 long. These were the sessions that you couldn't miss. So we had to get it smaller, right? So I said, all right, forget about that. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it down to the absolute 4 that are unique things that if you skip them, you won't be able to see them again. So the first one that we have up there, the cloud native application management with Staccato or with Stratus Console UI. This is the only open source GUI for Cloud Foundry, right? Absolutely go see this. I got to see this thing over the weekend. Extremely cool. It is not something I would miss. And again, it's the only place that you can see it. Go check it out. Very cool. The second one, this is Dr. T. You guys saw his photo when we started. This is Dr. T and all of our top engineers. It's our 6 distinguished engineers from across SUSE that are going to be in there taking your questions. Do not miss that. Go check out that session. The next one, enterprise storage management with DeepC and OpenAttic. This is actually presented by 2 of the guys from OpenAttic. You heard Michael talk a couple minutes ago about how we acquired OpenAttic last year and how exciting it was. It's amazing to see what they have changed in just 10 months. Again, I got to preview it over the weekend. Very cool stuff. Go check it out. You'll see some really exciting new stuff that we've been working on. And that's also stuff that I'm going to be showing off in the keynote. Now, like I said, they made me cut this list of 35 down to 4. But the cool thing is, I'm on stage now, and they can't yank me off, right? So I'm going to give you a 5th one that we're going to slide in before we talk about the next one. And I'm just going to give you a name to write down. If you are into containers, CASP, or anything like that, write down the name Flavio, okay? Put that in. People are laughing. The people who are laughing are people who know who Flavio is, right? Search for Flavio sessions. Go and see them. They are absolutely awesome. He's got a variety of different things on containers and Docker. All right, and now the 4th one. Right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I skipped the 4th one. SUSE Manager 3, right? I love sessions with props, right? One of the things that I love about SUSE is how much freedom they give us as employees to really tell the SUSE story, right? This 4th one is explaining how Jurassic Park wouldn't have been the big disaster had they had SUSE Manager, right? Incredibly funny. They've got props. Cool. Check it out. Now, this last session, there's 2 reasons why I want to talk about it. First, HP, I swear to God, I'm going to beat you if you're not in the room. Are you in the room? Hey, HP. So, there's 2 reasons why I want to talk about this session. First, that dude knows his stuff, right? I want to be clear on this. So, any of you who are friends of mine who have hung out with me, you have heard me tell stories about my friend from Amsterdam who knows Ceph inside and out, who really knows OpenStack, right? Several of you guys have heard me talk about him. That's the dude, right? If you do OpenStack, if you do storage, go talk and go see HP session, all right? So that's it. That's the sessions that I want to plug. But now I want to talk about SUSECON in general, and one big thing that you need to do at SUSECON. How do I know that HP knows this stuff? Hein Peter, the guy who's doing the last session, how do I know that he knows this stuff? He's never been to SUSECON before. This is first SUSECON. The reason why I know that Hein Peter knows this stuff is because it was over 10 years ago, I was at a Linux conference in Wolverhampton, UK, right? And I'm actually working the SUSE booth at this conference. This long-haired metalhead kid comes up to me and starts to talk to me, right? And I'm chatting with him, and he starts to ask me questions that blow my mind. And questions that are like, I'm having trouble even understanding the questions. So I sat there and I write down, he gave me a list of 10 questions that he'd been asking on SUSE forums and things like that that he couldn't get the answer to. I just happened to be going to Nuremberg the next week. So I sit down, I write down his 10 questions. I fly to Nuremberg the next week, and it just happens to be on my way back from Nuremberg to the States. I was planning on spending the weekend in Amsterdam. So I tell HP, hey, I'll go to Germany, I'll ask all these questions for you, and I'll get answers for you, and why don't we meet somewhere in Amsterdam and we'll sit down and chat. So we did. I went to Germany, I sat down, and when I met with all of engineering, I literally asked every single question on his list, met him the next weekend in Amsterdam, and since then, Hein-Peter and I have been really good friends. Every time I go through Amsterdam, I try to hook up with Hein-Peter. We talk about books, we talk about music, we drink coffee, we have a great time, right? All because of someone I met at a Linux conference, right? I know he's got that killer knowledge because I was sitting at a conference once and I just talked to a stranger. So what you need to do is take advantage of this situation that you're in, right? Meet the people that you're hanging out with. I'm lucky, I've got friends all over the world so that when I fly into a city, I can just say, hey, I'm coming here, and people meet me for coffee. And it's purely because of these conferences. So meet people, go out and find your own Hein-Peter in this conference. Not mine, leave him alone, he's mine, right? You guys need to go find your own. So with that, I want you guys to have a good SUSECON. We're gonna bring Michael back up, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, everybody, I just wanted to come back out here and thank you once again, everyone, for coming together as a SUSECON community. I hope you have a great 3.5 days, and go on out there, grab a cup of coffee, go to all those great sessions. I will see you all tonight at the anniversary party. Have a great day.